Welcome to another episode of One for the Table featuring Kimchi the Great and John D. Okay. I'm kidding. Hi, John.
Hi, Kim. It's
John
so
the
nice
Kong.
to be here. Hi from New York. I'm on the road today.
What are you doing in New York?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Oh, then don't say it.
Yeah, I probably don't say it. They haven't paid me yet, so I can't say it.
Pay attention to John's social media to find out the super secret project.
It's always nice to be back. I really do love this city very, very much. And obviously the food scene here is top-notch, next to none, honestly, except for maybe LA. I find that LA and New York have like equally good food scenes, but like in different ways.
Well, hold that thought, because our special guest today actually has lived in both New York and LA. I'm sure he has a lot of opinion about this. He's one of my best friends here in LA, but he's actually moving to New York next month. So without further ado, let's bring on the comedian, the internet sensation, the TikTok funny guy, the gay science guy, Rob Anderson.
Hey.
Hello,
Hi, Rob.
Hey, I love the intro. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk about food.
Our favorite subject.
Rob, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a food lover, and I, for about 4 years, worked for a company called The Infatuation, which is based in New York, but they have their reviews in different cities, and they're food reviews that are kind of funny and relatable and easy to read. They kind of cut to the chase. They do a rundown of the food on the menu, like if you go to a place, what's the best things to order and what things you can skip. And I worked in marketing. I was the marketing head there, and that involved social media, email marketing, all of that. So I ate out at a lot of the places, even though I didn't write the reviews. So at one point, I think I just tracked it was almost close to 250 restaurants in 1 year.
Oh my God.
Like different restaurants.
Wow.
And I was like, this is just really, really wild. And it was fun, but it did involve a lot of the times taking pictures of food and video out of the restaurants, which is so cringe. Like, you gotta sometimes stand on a chair and put a napkin over the flashlight of your phone to diffuse it and get a video or a photo of this food in the dark. So there were some cringe moments where I'm kind of like, oof, I had to do it though, because it was my job. And now I'm a comedian. I quit my job in 2020 and now I make TikToks and Instagram videos and I'm on tour.
Yeah, what was it like? Like, what was the transition like from working at the Infatuation to did your breakout happen on TikTok or was it more Instagram?
Yeah, I actually, it was because of my job that I ended up quitting it. I needed to start learning TikTok for the Infatuation and start making videos. And I made food-related things that would go viral that weren't always about restaurants.
And then,
and just like food nostalgia, food jokes, and a few of them went viral. And then I learned that I really love TikTok. Only after they went viral, of course. They went viral, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love this place." And then I made my own, and then I started to do it. Like when that started building up, it got to a point where I was able to quit my job within a month or two. It was kind of a sad moment because they were like, "Well, we thought you'd be here for a long time." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess not." But I love The Infatuation. They have a food festival, EatsCon, twice a year in New York and LA. They're the coolest people I've ever worked for and worked with. They're just awesome. And I love that company. And I miss them.
So, Rob, you are moving out of LA. Tell us why. That you give up this beautiful land of dreams and opportunities and sunshine.
I used to live in New York, and I'd moved out in the pandemic. And I do love a lot of parts about LA, but my family and my friends are all, well, some of my friends, not all of them, are in New York. And I think I just need the energy again. But it's no knock on Los Angeles. It's just kind of what I'm needing it for the time being.
Do you feel like while you're in LA, you took advantage of the dining scene here and all the different food that LA has to offer?
I haven't taken full advantage of it, even though I've definitely eaten out a fair share. When I was working for The Infatuation, which was about like 3 years. I ate out so much that when I got to LA, I think I was like, I was a little burnt out on the restaurant scene. So for a short time, I wasn't really eating out like I used to. But then I kind of got into it again. So I think I have enough knowledge of it, but not as much as I did in New York.
How would you compare like the LA and the New York dining scene?
They're both amazing places to live if you love food. I was going to say in New York, there's like a craze around things. Like if something is a hot restaurant, it becomes impossible to eat there. But I think that can be the case here too in LA. Like if something becomes really popular and it's a hot new place, the line will be around the block. So I think those are something both cities have in common. But I'd say the fish here is just anything seafood and fish is so much fresher, is so good, accessible. It's not like you have to hunt down a place in LA to find something fresh like that. They're just really local, cheap options around the block that don't need to be some big name here to have like good seafood, sushi, and tacos. Yeah, I think in LA, they're the restaurants are bigger. In New York, like some restaurant will pop up in the West Village and it's got 4 tables and it's really, really tiny. And in LA, they're much bigger spaces. I think those are like the big differences, I'd say.
Just from my personal experience, I feel like different things go viral. Like in New York, a restaurant will go viral. So then everybody would like line up with their friends to like eat at this restaurant. While like in LA, it's not necessarily like fine dining restaurants that go viral, but it would be like a specific dish from like this like random dumpy joint, and then people line up to get that specific thing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of that bagel place was, but
yeah,
people lining up around the block for that, like 2 hour, 3 hour wait. Yeah, it's not fine dining. It's more casual stuff. Or a burger place, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I wish I could remember the names of these things.
Courage bagel.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's like a type of food that goes viral.
Or like a specific pastry will go viral, and then everybody will line up at this coffee shop to get this specific pastry. But I feel like just overall, I feel like friend groups in LA like go more towards like homey like family restaurants over like fine dining in LA. I don't know if that's like the friend group that I have, but that's been my experience.
And I think it has something to do with also how expensive it is to like open businesses in New York as opposed to LA, just because of the amount of space and restrictions that are based like on there.
Like when you ask an LA person, what's your favorite fine dining restaurant? I guarantee you 90% of them will just say Nobu because that's what they know, you know? But when you ask a New Yorker, like, what's your favorite fine dining restaurant? The answers, like, really vary from person to person.
The fine dining in LA is, like, it's generally not cool. Like, it's like where you'd bring a business lunch. It's where you'd bring a client, like someone that wants to eat somewhere fancy, but it's not cool. Whereas, like, you look at like Fort Charles Prime Rib or something in New York where that's fine dining, but it's cool. Like it's a cool place to be. So yeah, it's like a little more lame here, the more expensive it is in LA.
I had heard that like people with money in New York will get like the good reservations at the hot restaurant, but like people with money in LA have the best private chefs. I don't know if that is a thing, but like that is something that I had heard like a long time ago, which like explains why like fine dining cultures between like New York and LA are so different, because a lot of them just have like cooks at home.
That actually makes a lot of sense too.
It's like ultimate bougie.
Right.
I think that has a lot to do with going out in either city. Like in LA, people stay in, and in New York, people go out.
Right.
So in LA, of course, they're bringing private chefs to their own homes. In New York, you're going out, you know.
And like in New York is like, even though you're probably like super, super rich, like your kitchen still can only be like so big. In LA, you can afford like the huge kitchen if you have that kind of money.
That's true. And I feel like people in LA tend to throw more dinner parties like in their beautiful homes. While like New York, I feel like throwing dinner parties like are definitely like a rich person thing if you live in a big place.
Yeah, you need like a penthouse for that kind of space.
I went to one dinner party during my time in New York, and They served soup. I mean, like no one cooks, or really, like nobody cooks. Like so they just had a lot of soup, and I'm like, just soup, huh? Like just soup, and they had bread. But I was like, I mean, there were like 8 of us, and it was pretty fucking awkward. Like none of us really knew each other. The people hosting it really like didn't. They didn't know what they were doing, and so there were a lot of like hot guys with no personalities. So it was just an awkward dinner with soup, and I'm like, really? We're just doing soup, and then it ended with G. So like it was, we had soup, and then we took doses of G, and then like they were like, let's play games, like, and I'm like, it was a group of people that just really never had people over. I think we do a dinner party this way. I'm like, soup, G, and Pictionary.
Oh.
So, yeah, dinner parties are not as common in New York.
No, when they bring out apples to apples, that's when I leave.
Oh, no.
It's like
the worst.
You could have at least gotten like Cards Against Humanity. No, apples to apples. No.
Wait, what's
no.
apples to apples?
It's like Cards Against Humanity, but for mild people.
Oh, no.
It was like the first... they invented the idea of matching cards like that, but yeah, it's for children, and then there's like a few cards like Helen Keller's in there, and so I was like, oh, who's got the Helen Keller card? So bad. No. Yeah, like, oh, it's all a trump card to play Helen Keller, you'll always win because it's so bad, you know? And then Cards Against Humanity is like cum dumps, like, yeah, Nazi cum dump, and you're like, okay, they really elevated the game, didn't they?
So is there anything, you're moving back to New York, is there anything like you look forward to finally eating? Is there anything that you miss in New York that you couldn't get in LA? And is there anything that you will miss in LA that you can't get in New York?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be stereotypical about what's better in each city, but like the sushi and tacos here are really unmatched. Like they're really, really good in LA. Particularly tacos. There's a few in New York, like Los Mariscos, which I think is in Chelsea Market, that make great tacos, but you have to really hunt them down in New York, and then they're just everywhere here. And then, I mean, it's basic to say, but pizza in New York, there's so many different kinds of pizza, from trash pizza to, well, there isn't really deep dish, which is a great thing. I mean, no hate against deep dish, but it's not really the same. But Detroit style pizza with Emily Squared. There's just so many different kinds, and they're all so good. And I have not had good pizza in LA.
Really? I always figure like LA, they do good like Neapolitan style pizza with like the fresh ingredients and stuff like that. Like they put
like, get like a pizza with
gorgonzola on their pizza.
If you want to get a pizza with like corn and arugula, like LA's the place, but you know, like
yeah.
But like who? I mean, really though, like, do you really want that?
I mean, it's pizza with a college degree in California.
I think the good pizza I've had here has been Neapolitan, but it's like Roberta's. It's all New York pizza.
Yeah.
It's all New York pizza that came and opened a second location in Los Angeles. But there's more than enough good food in LA to not need pizza. But I do really miss it. Yeah.
And also, you hate deep dish, huh?
I think deep dish is tasty, but if I'm going to eat pizza, it's the very last thing that I'd want with pizza. I mean, we both lived in Chicago.
Same, and I always say this, and I don't know why people think this is like such a controversial statement, but actual local Chicago people don't eat Chicago deep dish pizza. Like, that's all a tourist trap.
Chicago has a thin crust style of their own,
cracker crust.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I've seen that. It's also called, like, St. Louis. They also claim, like, a cracker crust or tavern-style pizza.
But we'll let them have it. They're depressing as it is. I'm kidding.
I totally agree. Nobody in Chicago is eating it Giordano's. Like, it's good, but it's, like, something people who are tourists check out. Because mostly, like, you got to call in 45 minutes ahead and then get in there. It's like, no one local is planning their night like that. And also, and you have it once and you're like...
They actually tried opening a Giordano's in Detroit, and I think they lasted like 3 months before they closed.
It's just so much cheese. Like, what kind of self-respecting gay man would eat that much cheese in one meal?
I mean, tops.
Well, even tops, though, you're still going to get farty.
We're non-lactose intolerant tops.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And that cracker, I didn't know that there was a place that I would have. I don't know if it's still around, but it was called Mista Pizza, Mista. Might be pronounced Mista in Chicago. And they had that crust, that like really thin crust, and the cheese was so you could just devour 10 of them. They were really kind of tiny, thin, but they were so good. But I didn't know that was like now a thing throughout the city.
I feel like if you're a Chicago local, the ones that are like Geno's East, Pequod's, and Lou Malnati, those are like the top 3. Do you guys remember that controversy when Emily in Paris said like Lou Malnati's pizza is terrible, and it caused like an uproar in Chicago?
I'm not watching Emily in Paris, but that's funny that
they even like put out a statement.
That's funny.
Yeah.
People get so upset about food. Like they take it so personally, which I love. I love that about people, you know. But who's getting mad about it?
Chicago locals who love Lou Malnati's.
Yeah, it is like a Lou's versus Pequod's kind of thing there. Like you're either one or the other. You're not both.
Mm-hmm.
Which are you?
A lot of people don't know this about me, but I actually don't like pizza. I know I said it in the podcast. Now everybody knows. I don't like pizza.
Well, you like Detroit style pizza.
I did, yeah. But pizza is never like something that I would choose to eat. Like when people are like, "Oh, I'm ordering pizza," then I'm like, I'll eat it. But there's never been a point in my life I'm like, I need pizza. It's just bread with tomato sauce and cheese, you know? Like it's whatever to me. Well, Rob was like speechless.
No, I actually understand, because it's kind of like there's a Greek dish where they just put it's fried halloumi. They put fried cheese on a stick. And there was a place in New York, everyone was like, "Oh my God, you gotta get the fried halloumi." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cheese. Like, of course it's good. It's fried cheese." And like, it's the best thing on the menu. And I'm like, well, it's going to be good if you do it at your house. It's just fried cheese. So I get why, like, pizza, it's like, if the dough's good and the cheese is good and like it's seasoned right, it's good everywhere. It's like, yeah, it's good, you know, but it's not going to like blow your mind. I get why you think that. Maybe I'm basic, but
No.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate pizza, but it's like pizza has never excited me in a way like certain other dishes would, you know? However, you know what excites me when I go to New York? Bagel.
Yeah.
There's no other place in the world. Like, New York has got their bagel together.
And like, it's really whatever they do to it here. I mean, like, I know they'd say it's the water, but like you can alter pH for water anywhere. But like, there really is just something about the bagels here that I've never experienced anywhere else. Like, you see that TikTok where the guy was like slapping the bagel and then he ripped it open and all that steam just came out?
Yeah.
Like, that was porn.
And the fact that they don't even like toast their bagels and it's so good.
And it's so good. You don't ask for it toasted because it's already perfect.
And then there's like 20 different cream cheese options. What?
The schmears.
And they put a lot on, which I love.
Like, so much. Oh, like it's a layer. You can feel it in your teeth. Like, oh, it's so good.
I think it is the water. They say that, John. Yeah, you're right. Like, they say the water. The same thing with the pizza dough is that like the water makes it really good. I don't understand the science of that, because it's like, unless your water is like from Flint, Michigan, like the water's not that different. Like, you know, well, I guess it is, but
it can make a pretty big difference. But I hear there's a place, I think I might have said this on the last podcast, but I hear there's a place in Beverly Hills that has like a Brooklynizer machine that like turns the LA water into New York water before they make their bagels. I heard that this place exists. I have not gone, obviously, but maybe you should check it out before you leave.
That sounds like such a good gimmick.
A Brooklynizer.
I think they call it a Brooklynizer. I forgot who I was talking to when I had this conversation, but that's what they literally called it.
The bagels are amazing, especially, I mean, like, I'm not an early person, but you get them right after they make them in the mornings, and they are phenomenal. And even, I grew up in Jersey, and the bagels were just as good there. And in Boston they are, so it's definitely something with the area. And then I went to school in Virginia at James Madison, and I had my first bagel there. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is one of the worst things I've ever put in my mouth. It was so dry and flavorless, and it, like, when you cut it, it crumbles. And I swear, grocery store bagels, which are terrible, were better than the ones that I had at school. And everyone's like, oh, I could go for a good bagel right now. I'm like, what?
You don't know what that is.
This is not a bagel. This is not a bagel. Yeah.
It is like so dense and like floury, but like not in like that good dense way.
You cut it in half and it looks like packing foam on the inside, or like couch foam. You can pad your hips with it.
I mean,
Yes.
as someone who grew up in Michigan without a bagel culture, my first experience with bagel were frozen bagels that my mom would buy. And then I was like, oh, this bread is pretty good. And then I had the New York bagel, and I've never looked back.
Yeah. And then on a breakfast sandwich, so good. And then there was, like, for a while, so when I was working for Infatuation, and if you're not familiar, we write restaurant reviews. I don't work for them anymore. But when I did, we write restaurant reviews that are fun and relatable, and that involves being at all the new restaurants that people are eating at, the new ones that open. And my job as a social media and marketing manager was to promote the places that we thought were really good. But part of my job was, because it had to deal with social, this was like 2015 or 16, a lot of Instagram food influencers. And that is a part of my job I do not miss, because the things that pop on Instagram were never the things that were good. Like rainbow bagels, for example. Like when those came out, people were just like, oh my God, I want to get the best rainbow bagel. And I'm like, it's food dye. Like, it's food dye, babe. You know, it's the same bagel you did anywhere else. It's not bad. But like the influencers and social media was always revolving around like the charcoal ice cream and like the gold leaf on this. And it was all this visual stuff and extremes. And so I think with bagels, like, there's so much damage done to my brain with the rainbow bagel thing, because it was like, oh, well, this post isn't going to get any traction. It's not going to get much engagement if there's not something like rainbow in it, or do a rainbow bagel. And I'm like, but it's not, like, they don't taste like anything. It's the same, you know?
Yeah, I think people call that like stunt food, where it's like it's not meant to be eaten at all. It's just literally just meant to be seen. And they do it a lot on TikTok too, where it's like they will like cover things in gold leaf for no reason whatsoever. They just like, that's what gets the views, because nobody's actually tasting this stuff. They just have to look at it, which is unfortunate because it generally results in wasted food.
Some of it is so gross looking too. Like there was like a burger that was like stuffed with cheese, and then they pour like more melted cheese on top, and they'll like take the burger and like dip it in like melted cheese. And I'm like, no one eats that much melted cheese.
Yeah,
and I love cheese.
Yeah, it's a lot of cheese. There's like a dish where they melt cheese and they slide it off of a plate and put it on top of something. I can't recall what it is.
Raclette.
Raclette, yeah. That was like nothing that serves that is a good restaurant in New York. Like, if they're serving that, it's just not a good place. But those are the things that did well. So it was like this toss-up of like, oh, do we post that even though it's not good? But we never would. We'd find some other way to make it work. But yeah, there's like Extreme Burgers and Black Tap, a place in New York that made like actually a pretty good burger. But then they started making milkshakes that were just so extreme. Like, they were like, the glass was dipped fully in chocolate. So like on the outside of the milkshake, it's in glass, and then there's chocolate all on the outside, and then there's like M&Ms and cotton candy and all this stuff stuck in it. And I'm like, oh, are we stupid? Like, that is it. It's just not an edible thing.
That sounds
Yeah.
like a dessert version of like the brunch Bloody Marys where they put like a burger and some chicken wings like on top of the glass, and it's just
Yeah.
completely ridiculous. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You just
Like,
wanted a
like, this is camp.
cocktail. Right, it is camp.
Yeah, like this is camp. Okay, this isn't real.
Like, are you gonna be at the restaurant like licking the cup clean on the outside? Like, it sounds repulsive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's but those are the things people really loved on Instagram, and so there's that like challenge of like, how do you grow a company based on what people like on the internet while also staying true to what's actually good, you know?
I think people also lose sight of like being famous on social media for a small business can only get you so far because only so many people can go to you anyway. It's better just to like focus on like being locally loved because they're the ones that can eat at your place.
It's true.
Yeah, in New York, there was a reason why they kept doing it because I guess it was working. You know, I guess they were getting a lot of business from something like these milkshakes because so many people pop into New York or see it on the online. Like, oh, when I get to New York, I would love to try that. And they create a reputation for, not a local reputation, but a reputation for people that when they visit New York, they want to try this, this, and this. And I think there's enough people like that it gets a business.
All right, shall we take a quick break?
Sure.
When we come back, we'll talk about Rob's feet. Welcome back to One for the Table.
We're here with Rob Anderson, comedian extraordinaire
TikTok sensation.
And owner of feet.
and proud owner of 2 feet.
Speaking of feet, I'm kidding.
Like, where are you going with this?
I was about to ask, like, where's this going?
It's not going anywhere. For our guests that are listening, would you like to tell them about your feet?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of problems. I can really talk about my feet.
No, I'm kidding. Do you really want to talk about your feet?
I
If
mean,
you don't talk about your-
I don't necessarily want to, but I could, I could talk about them.
Only
Stop
if you want
pressuring
to.
him to talk about his feet, Kim.
I had to wear shoes on my tour that were kind of like boot heels, and so I could never be a drag queen because I can't wear heels, which you get, Kim. You understand.
Oh, yeah.
And even these boots, which were size 13, they squeezed my nails so much that they basically fell off. They're on my toes, but they're like, they release themselves from your toenails.
Oh my God.
And so then that kind of grew out, and I'm like, okay, like my toenails are finally growing out. Here I am talking about my feet. I really am. And then I did a show in LA, just like on the beginning of February, and it happened again because I wore the boots.
Oh my
but
God.
the boots are so
When you-
fierce that I'm like,
when you
I
do
need to
the
wear
Europe-
them, but
You can't
When
give
you do
up.
the European leg of your tour, you should have them open toe just to save them.
oh my God. Oh, so they could see my hideous half on, half off toenail. Some clip hangers.
Just hanging on there like a saloon door.
It's like
Better if
my
it is
This
even
is
better
a
if there's like
first podcast.
3 pieces of like hair attached to like each toe, just to make it extra gross.
Oh yeah. I mean more than 3.
Ugh.
Like at least 10
Ugh.
on my
We're
big
Asian.
toe. I can look right now to see how much hair I have on my big toe, but probably at least 10 hairs.
Well, Kim and I are Asian, so we just assume it's just 3 for the whole leg.
But speaking of doing your show in LA, so I wanted to tell your show when you did your first show in LA, which was really funny.
Yes.
I highly recommend anyone that hasn't seen it to go see it if you can. How do you think your show has grown since then? It's a completely different show from the one I saw, or what do you think? It's more of like less the same?
Yeah, I think it's a lot different than when you saw it. But so what you saw, Kim, was an hour of stand-up. And, I've never done stand-up before in my life. I have a background in improv. I did improv for 8 years in Chicago for the Second City and Improv Olympic, IO, which isn't around anymore, unfortunately. And The Annoyance. I did improv all the time. It was like 4 nights a week. So that I have that in my back pocket, but not stand-up. So I tried an hour of it and did that at the test show. which really didn't feel like a test show because it was the first time people could see me live. So people were really excited to see me, and there were like producers that were there, and like you were there, and my friends and everyone was there. So it was like kind of like not ideal to test your first
That's
hour.
still a lot of pressure.
So I think I did a good job, and I got all the material out that I wanted to get out. But then the show started to every show I did, I kind of kept changing what worked and what didn't. And by the end, it's about half improv with crowd work, talking to the audience. And I think I enjoy that most. And I think that hits the hardest because people just want to see you be you. They want to have a moment at a show that can't be replicated, that feels very like in the moment. And that's what that is. And then I cut songs that were well produced, like the pop songs that I've come out with. They're not in the show anymore. And I've kept the songs that are like not out for the public to see. And the interesting thing about it is like those pop song, like doing a pop song, if you aren't like a pop dance, like multi-hyphenate performer, it is weird to do that in a comedy club. Like to dance and sing. Like, I mean, we saw the BAFTAs performance, right? With Ariana DeBose. Like, in an audience
girl.
that's sitting, it's truly like people just sit and they look at you and you're like kind of half dancing. Like you can't really sing that well because you're like, I don't know, you're just not like a professional singer in that way. Oh, well, she is, but it's just awkward. And after a whole show of people laughing at you like continuously, to then just have everyone stop and then just quietly watch you while you're like not doing real choreography is awkward. So I cut that shit.
Rob Anderson, you're all of us.
Yeah.
I was actually just singing that in the car. It's like, I'm like, how do I know so many of the lyrics already? It's like, all the ladies in the room supporting and leading. All here, I presume. Like, all here, I presume. Like, all here. The way that she wrote it, like you would, like, performing for your parents in the living room and, like, putting the words together like that is just that's what's making me so obsessed. And then it's like, she says Kate Blanchett, but she's like, Blanchett, Kate. And I'm like, why would she put her last name first? Because like it kind of fit better in the song. It's so cringe. Love it.
No, literally,
I love it. I hope she's well.
I woke up this morning with Angela Bassett did the thing.
The thing, right?
Pulling my head
Angela
over.
Bassett did the thing.
Oh, the best part during that part was like Viola Davis in the background because she was like dancing and being as supportive as she could. Just being
No, my favorite part is that Jamie Lee Curtis just fully rocking out when no one else was.
Yes. Yes. I mean, they really set her up. So they did her dirty because, yeah, she wrote the song and she wanted to do the song. And, like, that's on her. I mean, the song itself is, if you've listened to it and watched the whole number, it's so, like, you can do it. Like, girl power. Like, it's all very, like, it's so straightforward in that way that you're like, why this? But then also she's basically just saying the names of the people who are nominated. So if you're in the audience, did they expect these people to be like, oh my God, she said my name, like you're nominated, girl, like you're nominated for a BAFTA, like you're sitting there in the audience nominated for BAFTA. It's not like, oh my God, she said my name in the opening number. Like, so they had cameras on people, on these people, as if they were going to be like explosive, like living for this. Like, no, they're just going to be sitting there being like, okay, like this is just starting. So they really did her dirty. Like to put the camera on them while it was happening is just dirty.
Like when the gay chorus sang the bit about Laura Dern, like that was funny, you know, because it was like unexpected, you know.
Totally, it was like, well, that was it. That had a sense of humor to it because it wasn't expected what was going to be sung, but it also was so bizarre. Like,
yeah.
They made it strange, and that's what you have to do. And it was also, I think it was the Spirit Awards that did that, so they can kind of get away with some like weird, quirky stuff. The BAFTAs, I mean, it's just dry. That wouldn't even land at the Oscars. Like, those award shows are not meant for something like that. But if they are, you have to make it funny. I remember the host of the Oscars, the Australian actor. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman, when he hosted it, he did an opening number with all of the different Best Picture nominees and did like a little verse for each one of them, and it was pretty good. And when he got to the reader with Kate Winslet, he just did some weird alien thing because he's like, I didn't see the reader. Like, nobody watched this movie. He didn't even know what to joke about, and all these like alien. And he was like, nobody watched the reader, and I'm like, this is funny, you know? Like, we're gonna do a musical number, like, because all the other ones he was like, in this movie this happens, in this movie this happens, and then like these weird, bizarre, like with the readers like about the Holocaust. So it was truly funny. And if you're going to do a musical number, it needs to be that way because it can just be so, like, not a girl power, like all the ladies in the room, you know?
Do you think she would recover from this humiliation?
Oh, you know...
I think she's more famous now than she has ever been.
People did. I mean, she won an Oscar, but that's what makes it all a little bit more, like, a little more cringe, is that she won an Oscar so quickly. Like, she's Ariana's an established actress, stage actress, and really on Broadway, like, a lot of people know who she is. But she isn't a screen actress, and the one big break she got, she was nominated and won an Oscar for. So she's so new to entertainment and like on screen that to come out and do this, like, all my girls, like, where are you at? It's just a little more. It wasn't like Julia Andrews, you know, Julie Andrews, sorry, or Julia Roberts. Like, it wasn't like somebody that's been around for a while and they're like, oh, she's just iconic doing a thing. It's like she's so new that it's like the try-hard newbie. I don't know. It's tough.
It was very theater kid vibe, you know?
Yes, it was giving theater kid for sure.
I think that's like the performance. Not that we have to keep talking about this, but I could. Her ability to perform is high level, but I think as far as like her as a writer, you just needed someone else to give it an edge and make it really kind of work. And they let her run with all of it, and I think it was like, you know, a mistake. But I think she'll recover. If you are talented, you can recover from anything. Look at Lea Michele. You know,
that's true.
You can do anything, but if you're talented, they'll always come back to you. So I think she's fine.
Ariana, we're rooting for you. If you're listening to this,
she needs to make fun of it, though.
For sure,
she needs to go on SNL and make fun of it.
For sure,
100%.
Because it's not that serious, you know.
Yeah.
No. But bringing it back to food, real quick. While you were on tour, what was your diet like when you were on tour, and what was the most interesting thing that you had eaten, like, while traveling across the country?
Touring is tough, and I told myself before I went on, I'm like, oh, I'll work out every day, and I'll eat really healthy stuff, and I'll stay on a schedule. And I didn't do that because you're so wiped and stressed from the logistics of things, but also drained from, you know, the shows, that all I wanted to do was feel good. And that involved getting delivery from whatever I felt like eating. And I love fast food. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times that was just kind of like something familiar, like fast food. But some cities I'd never been to. I'd never been to Portland. I wanted to try some of the things that people like there. And I had voodoo donuts in Portland.
No!
What is this? I want to know more, Kim.
Voodoo donut is terrible. It tastes like nothing.
Kim, you can't just, you have to explain it.
Right.
The voodoo donut, I don't know. I feel like the locals will tell you not to go to voodoo donuts. The Blue Ribbon Donuts is where, like, that. But, like, voodoo donut was just, like, so sweet and sugary and has, like, no actual flavor to me. And I've tasted, like, 10 different donuts from there.
But is this like a very famous donut shop? Because I don't know them at all.
Yeah, it was like they came up like during like the whole like Instagram viral donut, and they have like a donut that looks like a penis, and some of them look like voodoo
dolls. And they're in a bunch of like, they're a chain now. So I think they were, when I was in Texas, they're even in Texas. Mm-hmm. I agree, Kim. They were the worst donuts. I think they're worse than like Dunkin' Donuts donuts. They are so dry and flavorless, and I think a good tell is like a hibiscus donut because like a hibiscus, like, because a lot of these like more like fancy places will have one of those, or a blueberry, something that you can taste like kind of tangy, or you can taste the flavor in the icing, because otherwise it's just sugar. And I had the hibiscus donut, and I'm like, how do you fuck this up? Like it tasted like nothing, like absolutely nothing, and it's so dry. And yeah, like the box is pink and cute. It's all a marketing thing, but it's not that. Like, just make a better donut. So I was so disappointed. I was mad, actually.
Yum. Waste of calorie.
Yeah.
But that's like an example of that like Instagram thing working out, even though it's trash, you know? Like if you've never been to a city, you'll see it on Instagram and go, oh, I want to try that. That seems like it's good. It's like a good local place, but it's not.
So whenever like I go out of town, I always like to ask the locals for a recommendation, but also you have to take it with a grain of salt because the local you're asking might not be a foodie.
Yeah. And they might also like tell you to go where they think you want to go, which is generally like the most that ends up being like the most touristy spot, because like, you know, some of the best food that you get in your town is like a hole in the wall, and either they don't want to share that or they don't think you'll like it because it's not nice.
Like when you go to UK and ask people for food recommendation, I guarantee you about 80% of like the UK people will tell you to go to Nando's. Which like,
I don't understand. Peri peri chicken.
First
I
of all,
don't understand the appeal of Nando's in general.
First of all, we have Nando's in the States, and it's just like grilled chicken with different hot sauce, you know? But actually, like, London has amazing food, so I don't even know why people would recommend. Anyways, just besides the point. But
yeah, it's almost like it's you got to go once so that you know what people are talking about. When I've been to Nando's, you're like, okay, like you know what they're talking about when they are. But the Indian food in London is so incredible. It's better than anywhere else other than like India. It's like better than anywhere in the US, and refined. Like it's like like fine dining too.
yes,
That it's interesting they don't recommend some of those restaurants, you know.
agreed.
Hoppers. Have you been to Hoppers? Did you go to Hoppers? They make this. It's called a hopper, actually, but it's like a bowl that's made out of some sort of combination of like flour and egg, and in that bowl you eat. There's like an egg and other stuff, and you use the bowl as like a chip to dip in the egg in the hopper.
Okay.
And it's really light, and they have them in different like kind of flavors. They have other things too, but there's different sauces you can dip in. And it's just a fun thing to eat that also tastes good. That's like very social. There were just so many cool things in London. I'm like, damn. But Nando's isn't one of them.
Yeah. And going back to eating on touring, I had the same experience where like a lot of times, like I don't want to eat before a show because you don't want to be like heavy and full. And then by the time like the show's over, it's late and everything is closed, and the only place that's open is like fast food joint or like a greasy pizza joint, you know? And then, yeah. And for me, like a lot of times, like I'll catch like the first flight out, and then you go to the airport, and the only thing they have is like bacon and scrambled eggs, and like all the places. You're bringing your workout clothes, and it's soaked in sweat, and it's like after that you can't even like wash it because you're at a hotel. So then you're carrying just like wet like gym clothes everywhere. Yeah, staying healthy on tour is so hard.
I feel for you. Anything else, my tour made me just respect drag queens so much, because you don't even have control over your schedules. Like people do control it for you, and I at least got to decide like when I'm flying out and what I'm doing. And for me, I'm like, how do they function? I was eating trash, and I gained probably 15 pounds by the end of my tour, and I didn't mean to, but it's tough. So I'm thinking like this next go around, making rules for myself and not breaking them, even if I'm feeling tired, like working out and eating, like not eating fast food. And
so it's like a very privileged thing to say, you know, but if you have access to the Delta Lounge, as you tour and travel, they'll always have like healthy options like hard-boiled eggs and oatmeal and fruit, which I understand not everybody has access to, but it helps.
Rob does.
Well, I get why you're saying that because it's like, yeah, like not everyone has access to it, so recommending it's almost like, well, then get the credit card. It's only $500 a year just to have the card. Just fly first class. They'll let you go in the lounge. Well, I agree with Kim, but I didn't have that. I've never been I didn't go in an airport lounge until I was this year. I was 35, and I they're amazing. So when you do have the opportunity to, or you can,
I always just
they're
go,
worth investing in.
I always just go for the dessert plate. I can't help it. I can't eat a hard-boiled egg in a lounge. I want a brownie and their cookies. And if they've got a waffle machine, like it's over for me.
Well, waffle machine. What Delta Lounge is the waffle machine?
Or some of them have like waffle makers, and then some of them have like pancake conveyor belts. I know the Delta Lounge in like Atlanta had like a pancake conveyor belt where you pressed a button and you watch this machine, this like nipple, drop pancake batter onto this conveyor belt, and you would just watch it go through, and then it would just come off.
Oh,
and you get a pancake.
my God!
What?
And you know this podcast is named after pancakes, even though neither of us really like pancakes. But I got it because of it was a show, it was entertainment, and pancakes. So, but I will say like one thing that helps me when I travel, because there are Starbuckses everywhere, and their sous vide egg bites are like actually quite good for you. It is like kind of a little bit of like a healthy food travel hack. It's high in salt, but I think it's like 90 calories, mostly protein. And because they're everywhere, it's like a reliable thing that you can do if you like, if I'm stuck somewhere without anywhere like really good to eat, I can always rely on that as like a post-workout healthy meal or like thing to have.
Agreed. A lot of times, like if I have to like travel somewhere and do like drag like in the afternoon or something, I'd always get like coffee and like egg bites as like my breakfast.
Yeah.
And I personally really like the mushroom kale one. I'm not a vegetarian, but the mushroom kale one just tastes really good. It's almost like the mushroom gives like a rich flavor, and kale just makes me feel healthier.
Yeah, they're like low calorie, but I enjoyed them like you all do, and somebody didn't heat them up enough once, and I ate it, and cold. I realized what it really was, like processed prepared food, and the texture of it when it's not hot
is not good,
really bad.
Ooh, yeah.
And I hate whoever did that to me, because the sous vide egg bites are lit, like what you're saying, like it's like a nice healthy option everywhere, and they kind of ruined it for me.
No,
I know. You gotta have them hot. They gotta be hot.
Otherwise, it tastes like icy sponges. It's awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rob, we like to ask our guests this question. You're dying tomorrow. Like, there's no way around it.
Yes.
Like, you're dying.
I knew it. Hell yeah.
Curate your last meal, appetizer, entree, and dessert.
I think we'll start with dessert.
Okay.
It would be, I'm an ice cream guy.
Okay.
When you go out to eat, you don't ever really order ice cream. Like the ice cream at restaurants is just always like a scoop of vanilla ice cream or something. But I would have ube ice cream from a place called Soft Swerve in New York. It is so good. It's purple, obviously, and you put like cereal on it, and that's like one of my favorite things. So I would have that as dessert. And the flavor's good, because like if you go to Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's does a lot of stuff really well, but they do not do ice cream well. their flavors in their ice creams are very weak, and they came out with an ube ice cream when that was like becoming popular, and it was like white people made that ice cream. Like it honestly tasted like a light vanilla. I was embarrassed for Trader Joe's, honestly. But Soft Serve in New York makes really great ube ice cream.
Where is it? Because since I'm here, I would go.
Okay, it's in the Lower East Side. And it's just like a soft serve ice cream place, and they also have different flavors. They have sesame, and they'll change out like a different flavor, but they're legit. Like a lot of these places will come up with these flavors as like a gimmick, and they're not really good. Like a Hollow in Toronto makes ice cream, and they seemed like they would be like soft swerve. Like they make similar flavors, and it was one of the worst ice creams I've ever eaten. The texture was terrible. It was like gritty. There were like pieces of like fat in the ice cream.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, and like the reviews are like, we loved our ice cream. Like people are so basic. They're like, we loved our charcoal ice cream, and I'm like, girl, it was terrible. Anyway, Soft Serve Lower East Side for sure. Ice and Vice is really good in New York. They make really great flavors for ice cream. Ice and Vice is also like in the Lower East Side. Anyway. For my main course, I would have pizza. I would do Emily and Emily pizza, and I would do the Colony flavor, which is pepperoni and honey. Yeah, it's really good. And they make a Colony square. They make a version with Emily squared pizza with the Detroit style, which is really good. And then for appetizer, I asked them to kill me early. No, I'm just kidding. No, then I wouldn't have my last meal. I don't know. I don't know what I order. I like chips and queso. Like, I think that's a really great appetizer. I think it's like, I like to have something that goes for a long time, that can like be paced out. Maybe shareable, but then you got to go with like a white queso, I think.
You are like the original Dairy Queen.
Oh my God. I'm a dairy girl. I eat a whole Faye every day.
Like a whole, like, well, how big of a size?
Like not the Costco ones.
Yeah, so there's, I think, there's like small, which is like what you'd eat, like what a normal person eats. Then there's like those medium-sized ones, and then there's the ones that look like there's a quart. I eat one medium-sized one a day, but sometimes a quart, and I have for the last like 9 years.
Oh my gosh!
Well, your must be so
like...
healthy.
It's like, you think so? It must be. I don't have any digestive issues.
Do you eat it with a metal
except
spoon?
For that pizza we ate the other day.
Oh yeah, that pizza that gave us food poisoning.
Yeah, that messed me up. A metal spoon, of course. A wooden spoon.
You're not supposed to eat yogurt with metal spoon because the moment the metal touches the yogurt, it kills the probiotics apparently. So you're only supposed to eat yogurt with like wooden or plastic spoon.
I feel like it would only kill the yogurt that is actually touching the spoon because there's so much yogurt that is not on the spoon, right?
I mean, yeah,
I'm cheating the system because I eat with my hands, so they are so live that those cultures are thriving.
Oh, I eat mine out of a dog paw with my tongue, just straight up.
A wooden one, of course.
Straight up, slurp it down.
Also, I'm sorry, I don't care enough about the cultures in my yogurt to eat with a wooden spoon. Like, the idea of a wooden spoon is not satisfying.
It's
like wet.
I have a wooden spoon and I actually quite like using it.
Me too.
Like I have one wooden spoon that I actually quite like using.
It's like coated so it doesn't get wet.
Oh, I'm thinking of like those big wooden spoons that you like stir things like pasta and all that.
Oh
stuff.
no, just for like dining wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to see what it looks like because
they actually can be quite aesthetic.
Blow my mind.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll have to gift you
farmhouse
spoon.
Yeah.
That rustic decor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, Rob. Before we go, is there anything that's happening? Tell us about the European leg of the tour.
Yeah, I am doing my tour in Europe, in Amsterdam, Berlin, Dublin, London, and Lisbon. The shows are sold out, but I'm adding late shows for all those cities in the next week or so. And I'm also going to add Paris. So check that out. They're the last times you'll be able to see this show that I'm doing. But I'll be touring again soon in the future too if we can't make them.
That's amazing. We'll have to get you back on and so you can talk about all the food that you ate in Europe. Well, your tour food. Maybe you had Nando's, who knows?
I'd be happy to come on anytime. You just let me know and I'd pop on.
Thank you everybody for listening, and if you like what you heard, like, comment, subscribe, share, give us a 5-star rating, or you're a hater, and don't be a hater.
Goodbye, everybody.